everybody. My name's Tahara Ezrati, and I'm a trained clairvoyant and the owner of Applied Intuition. I offer clairvoyant readings and intuitive development classes. And today I'm here with Caroline Deloreto, who I've known for about 10 years. She was a student about 10 years ago in my Introduction to Clairvoyant Healing class. And then she took the class again 5 years later. And then she just recently completed the 10-month clairvoyant training, and she's offering remote energy healings, and she'll tell you more about that in a minute. But Caroline's here today because she has a new book out, and we'll talk about that. It's called From Lyme to Light. So she's a best-selling author. Caroline is a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. She's also a licensed marriage family therapist. She does remote energy healings, and she has a master's in educational and clinical psychology. And she's had just a wild journey with healing Lyme's disease. And she wrote this book. I'm going to let her tell you why she wrote the book. But if you have Lyme's disease, or you have a loved one who has it, or any other chronic illness, you're going to want to check out her book and hear what she has to say. So Caroline, welcome. And so tell us a little bit about your story and the book and why you wrote it.
Okay. Hi. I wrote the book From Lyme to Light. And I wrote this because in 2016, I had a stroke and it caused a near-death experience. And I found out I had Lyme disease, and that's what the cause was. And I had gone through a whole year kind of leading into it where a bunch of symptoms had happened. It was misdiagnosed and they didn't know what was going on. And it was really challenging that whole year. I lost my memory, had dementia, was told I had MS, was told that I didn't, was told that I had all these different diagnoses, early onset dementia, Alzheimer's at 32, and there was nothing they could do. And then I had the stroke, and it led to the diagnosis of the Lyme disease. And I wanted to write a book when I was healing and trying to get better. What helped me the most was like reading people's blogs on Lyme disease and what they were going through. And I just knew inside me that when I got through this, that I needed to write a book to help other people find hope, find their light, and get through it, because you can heal and you can get better. And I just wanted to reach people and help them in the way that I could. From all these things happening and health challenges. Sometimes I used to be a teacher, 15 years of teaching middle school health, and also as a learning specialist and a counselor. And I just can't do those kind of days anymore. It's a different, I had to change my identity and figure out ways that I could have my purpose still like reach people and help people. And I just knew writing books is one of the ways that I can give back, and it gives me a lot of purpose, and I can help a lot of people. So that's why I wrote the book. And I wanted to share all the different things that can happen when you go through any type of big health challenge, not just Lyme disease, like people that are going through long haul COVID, people that are going through cancer, you can apply most of the stuff that I share in my book about how you can heal. I have a diamond of healing philosophy, and I talk about it in the book, but it's you look at the whole body as a diamond, and it's got the physical body on one side, the emotional, mental body on the other, and then it has the social and the spiritual body. And you want to help heal the whole body, which for me, I found inside the center of the diamond is our energy body, because we're way more than just this physical body. And everything's energy, we're energy. So to heal fully, you need to hit all the sides of the diamond, and it shifts your energy body. And that's really important, because that's where I found like a lot of the healing would take place a lot faster. So that's one of the things. So
tell us about that. Tell us how you used energy healing. Well, first of all, give us a little more flavor about like what that was like, what that year was like for you. What happened initially?
Okay, yeah.
So did you get bit by a tick, and then what happened? Like, tell us just a little brief run up to the near-death experience and stroke and all that.
So in June 2015, I was leading mountain bike trips in Marin County, and I got a tick bite, and I didn't think a lot about it. I actually went and got a short week treatment, antibiotics to be safe, but I didn't think about it after that. And I went on with my life. And by the middle end of July, I suddenly was losing my visual memory. Like I'm a really visual person, see things in pictures and stuff. And suddenly I couldn't draw a picture of like all I could do was stick figures. I couldn't remember what things look like. Maps, I couldn't read them. I couldn't think of it in my head. So that was the first sign that something was wrong, like something was going wrong in July. And my memory started just from there. It just started going worse and worse pretty quick, pretty rapidly. In August, I started having heart palpitations that would make me pass out at night.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I didn't know what was causing it. And it was just that with the memory. And then I went to a couple doctors. They're like, it's in your head or you're fine. Or so I just kept searching for like, what is going on? But I also kept living my life. And I was working as a counselor, a therapist then, and going to see clients and doing my stuff the best I could. By September, this is how fast it moved. By September, I would be on my walk in the morning or exercising and my legs would give out. I'd fall.
Wow.
So I would go to stand up from the toilet and I would literally fall over in the bathroom. Couldn't suddenly, no strength. And I started seeing a neurologist and, they ran some tests. They just said, it's nothing.
No explanation for why you can't walk?
Yeah, why I'm having these troubles. And then they saw that I had lesions on my brain. They're like, oh, those aren't a big deal. So so they just went from, I just kept getting worse. And then I finally had to have heart surgery because the afibrillation got so bad. And then saw maybe 4 different, neurologists. And by February, they decided that I had, all the tests, they did get worse, but they kept saying, oh, it's not a big deal. You're young. You shouldn't have problems. So, but I couldn't remember let's go back. January is when I was still going to work. Wait, let me go back even a little bit further. October is when I stopped being able to drive my car. And that was a big marker. And my husband, I lived in Santa Barbara my whole life. And I didn't know where I was. I would drive, I could drive a car, but I didn't know where I was. I'd suddenly go blank and I'd have to pull over and call my husband and say, Adam, I don't know where I am. Like, and he'd be like, what's the street sign nearby? State Street's like the main part of downtown Santa Barbara, if you know Santa Barbara. And I'd start crying because I really had no idea where I was. And he'd come pick me up. And I would lock my keys in the car almost every day. And AAA knew me by name and would come for free.
So the doctors are telling you it's nothing. We don't know what's wrong. You'll get better. What about people around you, your friends and family? What were they thinking?
Yeah. So the people I lived with some housemates too and a family. And they all saw me deteriorating, but also like they didn't, I looked normal on the outside. I looked healthy. I looked, so it was confusing for them. They would think that I was playing them or, like I was being flippant or something. Cause I'd ask a lot of questions cause I would forget things. And then they'd think that I was making fun of them by asking, but I really didn't understand what they were asking. So it was, they were noticing it, but they didn't realize how serious I was, that this was like really a wipe, So, I also would get like angry, like these rage bursts, but like they came from nowhere. And I now know it's called Lyme rage. It's something that happens in the brain. And, they found with teenagers and kids, especially, that can get really bad. And, even some of like the shootings that when they've looked at the brains of the kids,
really?
Lyme disease. So
really,
thing really big, and it's a real thing. And I am someone who does not get that. Like, I don't feel like I'm a very like scary, angry person or that way. Like I might stand up for something always in my life, but this is like a rage that would come over. And so it's so that's something else from neurological Lyme and Lyme disease. And then so I stopped being able to drive. And by January, I kept checking in. I was a therapist and I was seeing kids and teenagers and I was doing okay as long as I got to work. And I just went down in hours, but I just kept checking in going, is this ethically right? And well, okay, you're remembering your clients still, it's okay. But by January, I had this experience. I was with one of the little girls that I was doing therapy with, and I halfway through, complete wipe, just didn't even know where I was, why she was there, who she was. Nothing came back. So I just said, this session's over. Like took her out to her mom, and then I went to Adam worked in the other office next to me, my husband, and I said, Adam, I I just went completely white. Who was that? And like, what was going on? And that was it. I knew that it was done. I had to quit. I had to not, it wasn't ethical to stay open at that point because I wasn't safe because I didn't know, couldn't remember.
Right.
Remember. So I was crying and really upset. But then so then that's when they told me that I had the early onset dementia, Alzheimer's at 32, and there was nothing they could do.
With no reason, no, like, why would you have that at 32?
Some people get it. They didn't want it, but that's what they decided to diagnose me with. And that I should stop worried about it, just get my affairs in order. And that's just what it was. And I didn't take that as like, that was like a big no to me. Like, that's not what it is. But I also couldn't remember enough. I was at the point where literally Adam would take me and drop me off with my dog in a park at Wilcox property in Douglas Preserve. And I would go and sit under a tree for most of the day and just sit with her because I needed something to do, but like I couldn't. And then he'd come back and pick me up. So and I talk about that in my book too, some things that happened there that like.
You also talk about starting to see grid lines, right?
So that's when that started. So in January, when my memory fully went, I'd be walking around and literally like I'd see the earth as energy. Everything was energy, and it had grid lines and different colors and different frequencies. And like I couldn't help, that was how I saw everything. And it made me so much more aware of like how much everything is energy. And I kept getting this hit, like if I could just get the energy from the earth and put it in me and like fully into every cell of my body, I could be healed. Like I just kept getting this. So I kept laying on the earth all day at Wilcox property. I feel better.
Well, and let me stop you for a second. And you had already taken my class like 5 years earlier. So you already knew about grounding and running your energy. And were you trying to do any of those exercises?
I couldn't remember stuff, but I knew that I knew about grounding. I knew that in me. But like this was like a whole nother level of like, you taught us how to like sense that and read it. But like this was like I could not see it, or feel it like everywhere. Like, oh, that feels good. That energy does not. And then,
like the physical reality, the physical shell, or maybe the physical thing that the matter is structured upon disappeared, and so you were just left with the energy imprint behind matter. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And it's like the boundary of my energy and other energies were just a different frequency. That's like, it wasn't like a line.
Yeah.
Like, and then the other thing that happened was my eyesight color changed from normal, being able to see all colors because I'm not colorblind, to just grays, blacks, and blues. And that was for like a week. So everything was gray, blacks, and blues, which was such a trippy experience. But it just made me more aware of like that we're more than just these physical bodies. There's a whole nother level. So, and then I could see like Lily, my dog, or, she gets in a dog fight. In my book, I talk about it, but like, it was a whole different level of being able to see, instead of thinking this other dog attacked my dog and we're the victim, it was like both dogs were so scared and traumatized from this other dog attacking my dog, and it was like compassion instead of being like angry. So anyways, but long story short, then in April, this is 3 months after being told I had the early onset dementia and nothing they could do. On April 17th, I had the stroke and went into the hospital, and and then like a day later, or like, I'm getting this wrong.
Where were you when you had the stroke?
Oh yes. So I was sitting in my, Adam and I lived in like a renovated garage in Goleta, California. And we were sitting having in our little living room space watching our Netflix in the evening, and our niece who lived with us was with us, and I was watching I can't remember the show, but I was just sitting there, and suddenly at like 7 p.m. I was like, ow, and I had the sharpest pain behind the left eyeball back here, and it was like such a sharp pain, like the worst. So I just jumped up, and I'm like, Adam, something's not right. That's what I said right away. And in that same second, he's like, what? And I'm like, I need help. And I was like, and then I needed to go to the bathroom, like pee, poop, all at the same time. And I'm like, I need to go now. And then by the time we got down the hall to the bathroom, I couldn't use the right side of my body. Wow. Went to the bathroom, and I said, and then I started stammering because I got a stutter started. So said, Adam, just stroke, I'm having a stroke. Like,
oh, you could kind of tell.
Well, now, yeah. Well, I have a background with EMT work and like EMT for like 15 years as well. So I was suddenly just like, I know this is not right. What was weird is when that happened, I hadn't had any memory, but because of maybe the cortisol and all that got released, suddenly my brain turned on and I could think so quick, so fast and knew everything that was going on, but I couldn't communicate. Wow. There was I couldn't get the words out. And it was like the weirdest experience because I could watch everything that happened during the hospital, but they couldn't tell that I couldn't communicate. So, so I went to the hospital. Yeah, they're like full-blown stroke. It's in the hospital for 5-6 days. But while I was there, the second day, they got me in the MRI machine, and I didn't feel right that morning. I woke up. I was not getting the right foods or water or anything. It was kind of a hard time there, and Adam was really advocating for me, but they just thought I was faking or something in the beginning because you're young and you're all this stuff. The nurses weren't that helpful. So I was like, Adam, I really feel weird. I was tried, I could actually write it on my phone with the hand. One of the things that happened was I'm right-handed normally, but when the stroke happened, suddenly I became fully left-handed for like 3 months. It worked like my so anyways, so I ended up being taken to the MRI, and then when I got in there, I said bye to Adam, and I got in there and they laid down, and I've had other MRIs in my life. This wasn't the first time. I've had a lot of them in the past, and I got put in there, and I just wasn't feeling right, and it started to click. It's like dark, and all of a sudden I was leaving my body, just getting sucked up. And it was like blackness with these like energy light kind of things all around. And I was super, super high. I knew I was leaving Earth. And I kept saying, like, I'm not ready to leave Earth yet. Like, please, I have more to do. Like, this is what I was saying as my soul's getting sucked out. And I could look down, and like I was being stretched Armstrong all the way down. My feet were like tiny down, like in the MRI machine way down there, way up high. And I was like, no, I have more to do. Like, please. But there was nothing I could do. I could not stop what was happening, no matter how much I pleaded or anything. So finally just let it go. And I got up to the top, like the spot. And there were these, it's like they were almost like energy. It was like an energy around me. And I was saying, I really don't, like, please, I have more to do. And, I saw these hands come and grab my ankles way down in the MRI machine, like way down below. And I'm like, and then I heard a voice. No, it's not. Like, no, it's not your time to go yet. Like, no, it's not. Like, I heard you. And it looked like my mentor on Earth, like this guy that had been really helping me through a lot of things and had trained me in therapy. And so it looked like his face, but it wasn't him. It was like a younger version. So it looked like him. And he whipped me down like this, my whole body, to come back down at like 100 miles per hour back into my body. But that's not just what happened, because there's no sense of time there. So it could have been a long time or not, but like that all happened. And then but at the same exact time, I was up high and with these energy things, and they stripped me. It's like this blue version of myself, like an energy grid of my body, a blue version got peeled off. And I was holding onto it with my hands near the top as I was going back towards my body, trying to bring it back down with me. And they're like, nope. And they pulled it off and took it, like this blue version of me. And I really felt like that was like an old version of like this part of me that I wasn't allowed to bring back. I was done. I had already done the work. It was already done. But I also got a download as I started to go down. It was like this. So this is one of the things that it started getting after this was like these downloads. They're super fast, all in pictures, and they have a ton of information. You can't speak fast enough to like get all the information out, but it was a download pretty much showing me that I had a new purpose when I came down, that I would be doing, that I was supposed to be helping people heal with like Lyme and the chronic illnesses and stuff. I didn't even know I had Lyme yet when I heard this. So, and that I'd be, like that was my new purpose. I also had a different like color to me. I was like the blue went off, and it was like a whiter, like bright light, like it was a whiter energy. So, and I slammed down into my body, like whipped, boom. And when I hit my body, the MRI machine completely spazzed out. It electrically shut off. They didn't know what happened. They freaked out. They came out and they're like, we don't know what just happened. Your MRI was going great. You were completely still. And I'm like, it's been like 10 minutes.
Dead.
It's like 10 minutes. And I'm like, 10 minutes. Okay, that's how long it was. So, and we've never had this happen before. I'm going to have to unplug it, restart it. I hope it works. We don't know what happened, and I'm like, oh, I couldn't say anything because I had a really bad stutter, but I wanted to say, like, I know what happened. I just came back to earth. Like, I just died and came back to earth, I fell back to earth. So, and then as I hit my body, is this okay? Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I have some questions for you, but go ahead and finish.
Okay. And when I hit my body, it went bam, and then the MRI machine went off. When I started to feel my body, I was like, it was like being a newborn baby. Like every sense was like I had never sensed it before. I knew what the word was for it, like touch or smell or other things. It all came in the same loudness. It had no filter. I would just see so many pictures everywhere. Like if there was people nearby, I'd get all these pictures around them, like little pictures that would be telling me stuff about them, like overload. I had to learn. I felt like it was my whole nervous system. This was huge. Got completely reset. So that was cool because it meant that like any of the post-traumatic stuff in my body, it had turned off. And I knew right away, one of the things I knew right away was that I needed to be away from people in like for the first 2 months or so of office because I had a reset. I didn't want to reactivate the nervous system with old programs. And so I spent 2 months at my husband's office, like staying there to be like quiet as I healed. And it was a good choice because those things didn't get reprogrammed.
So can I stop you for a second? So
yeah.
Were you afraid during this experience?
A weird thing happened. So as I was going up, I didn't want to go. Afraid or fear, not so much as like almost mad, like, no, I'm not done yet. I was really scared after I came back into my body for like the next month or so. I had this it was like an ingrained fear that I was going to float off the earth and die. But not during it so much as like I felt like literally I would lay on the grass under trees and like hold the grass because I felt like when I fell asleep that I'd just I'd float right off.
Yeah.
So that was the fear part, but it went away as I got slowly
regrounded.
Especially when I took your class 2.5 years ago later.
Well, yeah, so that's an interesting point too, because I didn't know you had a stroke, and you contacted me and said, hey, I've had this stroke, I had this near-death experience, I haven't been able to be around people, but I think I want to take your class again, and it seems like a safe place to start reintegrating being around people, because I know people are going to be grounded and have good boundaries, and I need to learn how to reground and deal with my boundaries too. So you took my class again. I think it was in 2018.
Yeah, that sounds right. About 2 years.
And you said it was the exact date of the anniversary of your stroke when you started the class.
Remember that? In April 17th. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Thank you for remembering that. So true. And I picked you because you're so grounded. I knew no matter what would happen, you would ground the class. Like it's like you're like the most grounded person. So and it was huge. I remember that first class, you were teaching auric field boundary stuff and the grounding cord, and we painted our auric field.
Yeah.
And it was just like such a trip because I didn't have a boundary that first day. And I didn't realize that had gone away before 5 years earlier when I looked at my old drawing because I found it after I didn't remember we had done that. And I had a very clear boundary. I was like blues, which is what the color that I saw go was blue. That was a blue aura. So it was, and once I got that auric field and the grounding down in that class with you again, it really started to just like my healing just started going so much faster. And I was able to start going out and regaining the ability to interact and not be just a hermit in my house.
Yeah, I remember noticing your energy, and it was very etheric, like very much more etheric and a whiter color than it had been in the past. So something interesting that I think, so people have different incarnations, if you believe that, and I do. And I think that in the past, people would more often just have to die when they were going to make a big change in their life, especially on an identity level or a purpose level. But what it seems like in my reading of, many, many, many people, and also like, myself and my students, that, and I don't know if it's just people who are more energetically evolved and can work with their energy more, or if it's a thing that we're evolving through a time in history where we're more able to do this, and it's probably a combination of both. But my point is, people, when they were going to make a giant change, they just had to die and start over.
Yeah.
And it seems like now there's more and more people who are basically kind of having a second lifetime or a third lifetime within the same lifetime.
Yeah.
Because if you have to start over from infancy, that's a lot of work and a lot of time that you're wasting. If you can kind of do a reset in your 30s or 40s or 50s or whatever, and you don't have to go through that whole childhood and developmental state. You just, and it's not a total reset. We've talked about this a little bit, how, there are certain things that left you, but then there's certain consistencies that stay. And the class I was teaching last night, actually, in the clairvoyant training, we were talking about our original essence energy, which is the energy of your soul that spans all your different lifetimes. So that doesn't change, but some of the personality stuff and other things. So how do you feel like you're different now than you were before this near-death experience? And is that a good thing or not?
So the other thing that happened was I got a download. So this goes right to this. So when I hit my body, I got another download that was 3 specific pictures. And one of them was, the first one was like a quill writing on a contract. And it said contracts. It said rewrite. I got what it meant right away, that rewrite your contracts in your life. That's their first step, my first assignment, right?
Rewrite your contract with yourself or with other people, or both?
With myself, with other people, like all the people in my life. I needed to rewrite the contract, and I just knew what it meant when I saw it, even though it was like, what is this? But it was like, because it had more to it that I just knew. But it was like rewriting I was going to be a different person. Like, I was really big caretaker and teacher and those energies, and they're great. They're still part of me. I still love people, but the way I did it needed to change. So the contracts with these people in my life needed to change if they were going to stay. We were going to stay in each other's lives. It wasn't going to be the same Caroline that they were expecting, right?
So we, that's part of the beginning, part of the class that you took, the beginning class. So if you hadn't had that class, would you have known what to do or how to, I think so,
because everything was, it helps having that class, but I wasn't thinking of the class when it happened. It's like, it's when you get the picture download, there's so many other things that are in it other than just that picture. It's like, it's not in words. Words are so much harder and longer to explain than these pictures that you can get as information, and they have so much in it in one picture. So it kind of told me what I needed to do. It was like, oh, okay.
So and how did you go about updating your contracts with everyone?
Good question. So that was my first task out of 3. And it was going to go as long as it needed to. And when I got done with that, the next one would start, and then the next one would start. So this task took about, I started in the 2 months that I was in the office on my own. That's when I was understanding what the contract thing meant. And I started writing letters to people. I could handle one person every like 2 or 3 days, where I could see them for a half hour or something. So I would make dates with the people that were really important with me first. And I actually would either have a conversation about it and what happened and like look at that, or if they weren't going to be open to that kind of conversation, I would just kind of like meditate and do what you taught us in the class, which is like, you can talk to the other person's higher self and like kind of reorganize that and see if it's going to work. And then I wrote letters to some people. And I knew in that download that some people were going to be probably not in my life as much anymore. Like it wasn't going to work for them. And that was okay. And I can still love them. Right. And that's all that matters. It doesn't, but this was the only way I was going to be able to stay alive. Like the energy balance had to change. And it needed to go pretty quick. So this took about a year. year and a half, right around the time I started going to your class. So, and that was like my ability to then go back out in the world and be with other people that might not know yet too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of cleaned up the inner stuff. And then while I was doing that, I was doing all my treatments, so sick at home because you get die off and all this stuff happens. Enemas, all these things you have to do. It's like a full-time job. So I was doing contracts and that as my full-time job. And then the second download ended up being of this woman doctor. This is what I saw when I hit my body.
Mm-hmm.
This person was. And woman doctor, and I was working with her and I was training with her. And I didn't know what it meant. Like I didn't know who she was or, but I knew that it would come when it came. And the woman that right after the stroke, I met her, Treya Palmer, Dr. Treya Palmer, and she did some bioenergy muscle testing stuff with me and did a bunch of naturopathic meds for me and stuff. She on Zoom. So it wasn't even in person, all the way in Vermont. And so this is like 3 days after my stroke. I didn't put it together yet. I hadn't seen her because didn't have a video, just heard her voice.
How did you come across her?
I got referred to her from the Lyme specialist that I started working with. He said, okay, you're complicated. I want to send you to Treya. She does my most complicated cases, like to help sort through what's the priority for treatment. That's what she specializes in, to get better quicker. And I talked to her, we hit it off right away on the phone, but I was trying to, I wasn't thinking of the next download, right? So 2 years later, she asked, or 2.5 years or so after your class. Yeah. 2.5 years later, 3 years into it, she asked me to come and train with her. And I'm like, oh, like this. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's something I want to do. I was already helping people with Lyme at that point. People were calling me, doctors were calling me and sending people like, can you talk to my patients and help them figure this out? So like, this was already happening on its own. Like it was out of my hands. It was all kind of lined up. It's like, here you go. I'm not asking for it, but okay, I'll help you. Learn from it. So then I went out to Vermont and I met her. And the minute I met her, Treya Palmer, that night, I went to visit her and we shook hands, and it was like the aha, like the download, and it was her. I hadn't seen her visually. It was exact woman that I saw in it. Her. So I just went, okay, well, here we are. I made it to number 2 out of the 3. And the third download was that I was going to be writing books. I saw like tons of books and I was typing on a typewriter, and there was other people with me I was going to be writing books, not just on my own, but like with other people. And I didn't know who they were. So Treya and I, she had to retire a little early, and because of COVID, everything just closed down. So I didn't take over for her, but I learned a ton from her for that 1.5 years that I was with her. And then I knew that the next stage was going to be writing the book. So,
and you moved to Vermont in the process.
Yeah. And I moved to Vermont to work with Treya. And then we were doing great. And then it's like COVID hit and everything changed. Everything just shifted, right? But that third download, suddenly I'm sitting there in COVID and I just started writing, and I knew writing. I wasn't even thinking of the third download. And then I realized, wait a sec, I'm doing it. Like this is the third download. And now Treya and I are also writing the second book. It's already halfway done.
What's that called?
That one's called Why. Okay, wait. Oh my gosh, why? Who am I without my illness?
Okay.
Yeah. Who am I without my illness? Which is all about like how we identify with our chronic illness and stuff. And how can you treat and get better from your illness if it's part of who you are?
Right.
That's a
part
big
of your identity.
So that's what it's about. So it's about freeing people from that. That's what she experienced so much with her patients, and I did too. And so we want to help. And I've been through my own health stuff. She has too. So it's like help people learn how to do that and and how to get through it. So that's So and then I have a couple other books ready to go too that are on the list. So that's the third one. This is my new. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a caretaker. I'm doing the teaching and the caretaking through this. So I'm living a little more quiet life, but I can reach more people through a book than one-on-one. So this is where I need to this is where I'm putting my energy and then
so in addition to writing and getting your book out there and speaking, what else are you doing, and what services do you offer people?
So I'm doing the writing. I did the clairvoyant training with you, the grad class. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's two other people in the class that we've teamed up, and we're doing like a group energy clearings, energy work. And that's been really great. And I have it on the website, our link to our website, and we do 30-minute clearings or readings on energy, on clearing a house or a space, or but mainly the reason I want to be doing that is I also eventually want to be doing more to help people who are especially chronically ill or just have a health challenge. You don't have to be chronically ill, you can be sick and you're like, my energy, I'm just a little off. I can't ground. I'm like always out of my body, or I can't hear myself. Like
Right.
something I really learned is like in the healing process, you need to connect to your body, to the ground, all that, but you need to be able to hear your higher self and hear what your body needs and what you need, because doctors are great and all your healing team, you want to have a healing team of people, you know, when you have something big going on, like your naturopathic doctor or your chiropractor, but you need to be able to hear what's working for you, not what they say you should do. So, I mean, you always need to see a doctor, like, you know, to get an opinion. I'm not one. But so I want to help people like be able to clear blocks in their energy field, or be able to hear themselves better, their higher self, so that, because if you can do that, your healing will go much faster. And it's spirit, it's God, it's source, what, you know, for different people. But there's so much light when you can connect to that, and that's something that you can bring into your body and help it shift. Illnesses are like our lower frequency, is what I really learned through this process. They can get stuck, and you can kind of get stuck like in a lower frequency, and that's the illness. It's kind of gray, or it's kind of murky in your body, and you can get kind of stuck and it's not moving, and circulation doesn't move in those areas and stuff. So you want to figure it out, or just be able to hear yourself. Because when you're in funk, even when I have hard days still sometimes, right? I can't hear myself, whatever. Then I'm like, I need help. Like, you know, Tahara, you know, Mike, or, you know, I'll call someone, or I'm like, I need to go get Reiki, you know, just something to shift it and move the energy. And now I can hear myself again. Now I can meditate. I actually really suggest like meditation, and Tahara is one of the ones that like taught me to just do it even 10 minutes a day and listen to a guided meditation. She has a bunch of great ones, you know, or it got me in the habit where like, I'll either listen to one or I'll just make one up. And as long as I'm connected, I can be in that state for 10 minutes to half an hour really comfortably. I'd love to stay there all day, but you have to work and do things. But that really makes a huge difference. It's not just you're silent, you know, you can on your body and your healing field and think about people you love and send good prayers, and it can really help.
So you're doing remote energy healings on either email or phone or Zoom, both on your own and also with two of your my colleagues, right? Okay. And you can, and we'll put all the those website info in the show notes and stuff. And then you're also going to homeopathy school, right?
Oh, yeah. So yeah, of course. I'm going to homeopathic medicine school in Toronto, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I'm about almost a year in now. And I want to be able to homeopathy. Really, it's actually a Western medicine. So, and it's like totally backed, and it has provings, and it has research on it. And people don't really know that a lot in our culture, because allopathic medicine is what I'm so familiar with. But it goes right with what I experienced with all the Lyme stuff, where I started seeing frequencies and shifting. I could tell when someone was in a healing state or not. That's something, and a healing state is like an energy frequency in their whole body. It's in alignment, it's flowing, things are working. So if you're really sick, if you can get yourself to a healing state, it's like the and your body will be okay. You will heal. Your body can heal. If you keep going out of that healing state, then that's when it gets like really dark sometimes, and you're like, I'm lost. I don't know what to do. I just want to die, or I feel like I am going to, or I can't get better. So learning how to get yourself back into a healing state is one of the things I really should talk about too in the book. But one of the ways homeopathic medicine is all about finding the right remedy that churns your body. It like wakes your immune system up, your vital force, your body wake up, so that it starts to vibrate at that healing state. So then you can start shedding the layers, the die off, the detox, whatever was stuck. And that's what I love about it. So
okay, great. So you're doing energy healing, you're writing books, You're going to homeopathy school.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with us?
I'll be doing some book signings and book events to get this out to people. I'm going to be in Santa Barbara doing 2 book signings in March, which I'll also have the info at my website.
Do you have the dates? Give us the dates.
Oh yeah, for Santa Barbara, there's March 19th at 2 p.m. at Paradise Found. And then that same week, I'm doing 2 because I'm there for the week, March 21st, Tuesday at 6 p.m. at Chaucer's Bookstore. And they're both the same event. You won't, the same information. I'll be doing a little bit of talking about the book. I'll be signing Dr. Salcido, who did the foreword for my book. She's a naturopathic doctor in Santa Barbara. She will be there answering questions as well. And then my friend Rachel, Sarah Thurston, who is going to be helping run the interview and do that there. So
okay, great. And so this book talks about Lyme's, but I've read it. You were kind enough to let me read the preprint, and it's not just for people who have Lyme's. It's for people with other kinds of chronic illnesses, right? It's more of like an approach to healing than, oh, this is what you should do if you have Lyme's. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%. Yes. There's only one section in here that like specifically talks about prioritizing treatment, and it's not very long, that deals with some of the Lyme infections, but that concept is still relevant to anything you have. There's certain orders of treating when you have cancer, when you have Lyme, you want to, it's finding those things that could be blocking your flow to be able to continue to heal. And I talk about that in there. But the diamond of healing philosophy that I wrote up, I've followed that with other illnesses and it works. So it can be applied really easily to anything, even having a cold.
So are you available to have consultations with people who have a chronic illness, trying to help point them in the right direction to get help? Is that something you offer also?
It's something I've just started offering. And right now on my website, it says Lyme consultations, but I think I'll be changing it to Lyme and chronic illness, or just anything, health challenges. But I have a link on my website. I'm CarolineDeloreto.com.
Okay,
so
that's easy.
It's simple, and it has everything on there. I have a lot of resources on that website. There's a link right in the front under what I offer. It has a link to Tahara's class, because I really, in my book, I talk about it a lot. I think it's such a perfect setup for learning all the basics of like energy, healing, and being able to apply it to your life. So I have that up there for anybody who wants to take the beginner class or one of the other ones. But I've got resources to doctors, to Lyme, says resources, and you click that, and it goes to a whole page of all the different mold experts and Lyme, all these things that you can have with Lyme. It has info about different energy practitioners that I've met over the years, and anybody else who wants to be added to it. If you're listening to this, send me an email. I want to put your info up there. I want to get the info out to people.
Well, Caroline, I'm so thrilled that you're launching your book, and it's a great book. So I would recommend it to people. And I'm so happy that you're feeling better and that you have such amazing gifts. Caroline has one of the biggest hearts of anyone that I've ever met. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up right here. Any last final word you want to say?
Just if you are in the dumps or feeling kind of dark about healing or health or something in your life at some point, then just know there's hope, and that you can have more light in your life again. And just remember, it's like one of the biggest things I've learned in my health journeys is that this moment right now could really suck or be horrible, but it's a moment. And every moment, if I could remember that, then it was okay, I'm going to get through this moment right now that's horrible. And at some point, that moment's going to shift to a good moment. And it always does. It's that or you're going to die. But you end up getting back to a good moment again, and it's over. So it's not forever in that moment. So just when it's really, really hard, just remember, okay, this is a moment that's hard. What can I do right now? The best next step to help me shift into a better moment. And it's like a new rebirth. We get this gift. Every moment is new. We can start fresh. If we made a mistake, we messed up, we feel horrible, we can start fresh. And that's such a gift. So
thank you, Caroline. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll see you at your book signing.
Yeah, come
And
to the book
everyone,
signing.
go
Meet
get her
me.
book. You can get it on Amazon. We'll put the link to that below.
Yeah. And go get it at the local bookstores if it's there. And on my website, I talk about where else it's offered, but it's already distributed to most bookstores all over America. So you should be able to find it and support those local stores. Otherwise, go get it on Amazon, and that's great too. Just yeah, for
Okay,
keeping
great. And share this video with anyone who you think would benefit from it.
Yeah.
So take care, everyone. Have a beautiful
thank
day.
you guys.
Thank you, Caroline. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.